This is the Standard Podcast, the eye-opening experience for your ears.
สวัสดีครับผมบิ๊กบุญและคุณกำลังฟัง Weekends at คำนี้ดีวันนี้เรามีแขกรับเชิญครับHey, what's up, everybody? My name is Vic, and you're listening to WKND Weekends at Kamnidi right here on the Standard Podcast Network. Today, we have a guest. A lot of you might have known her for her YouTube channel, and also she's been on some of our shows before. But this time, I invited her to come and talk about something very personal. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that especially for this episode, which apparently will be super long, we have a clip on YouTube with subtitle ready for those of you who would want some text to go with the sound. But anyway, I want to encourage you guys to just give it a try first. Just listen to the conversation without having to, worry that you can't catch every single word. In order to understand the conversation, you don't have to understand every single word of it. That's what happened to me all the time because most of the time I only catch about 75 to 80% of the whole thing. But I can still enjoy whatever it is. And after the first time, if you kind of want to check if you get it right, then go back to the clip with the subtitle on YouTube later, okay? All right, let's talk to Peachy. Are you nervous?
What are you talking about?
Because I am. I'm asking because I am.
I very am nervous.
You've been here how many times already?
I don't know.
I think 4 at least.
4. I think I came in for something else and you stole me.
Yeah.
And you stole me to do something.
Yeah. We do that all the time here.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I came in for some other program and you stole me for podcast. And then there is the other time.
And I'm glad I did because it turned out to be a great episode.
Flattered.
So just before New Year, like a couple of days before New Year, you put up a video on your YouTube channel, and it was a video titled ซึมเศร้า depression, right?
Yeah.
Okay. From what I can see, it made a big impact. You've got lots of views and lots of comments. Was it a hard decision to put the video up, considering it's very, very personal? And it could be a sensitive subject to talk about as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while actually. It was actually hard to it wasn't hard before, as in the process of recording or talking about it, everything was it was easy because I know exactly kind of what I want to do, what I want to talk about because it's the whole year reflection of mine. So it was all easy up to the point where I'm actually going to upload it. That's when I send it to everyone around me. I send it to my team. I send it to the people around me that I know suffering from depression, the people who are not having depression, see how their views are and all of that.
Just to get second opinions?
Yeah, it's just the last minute, just got cold feet. And I was just is that okay?
What was it that you're not sure about?
Because I felt there was big two concern because I don't want to victimize myself. I mean, I did not, but I also don't want to come across like that because I know how easy it is to be taken that way. It's a sensitive topic, really, and the credibility that might have effects on, after I release it because it's going to be the first time that I come out and talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah,
almost.
officially.
Because you've touched the subject before.
I might have.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit here and there. It's just the lessons that I've learned and stuff like that, self-reflection kind of thing. But I've never actually
make a whole episode out of it.
Yeah, or officially talk about it or mention it that I'm, having conditions. But I mean, if anyone asks me or if it come across in the conversation, I never hide it. I mean, people around me kind of know that I'm having it. So it's still like around me, but I just never made it to public. So it's like the first time.
That's a big thing because talking about it and talking about it on video, on YouTube, that's two different things.
Yeah, but then I was talking to another psychiatrist, and she said that she still think that it's a good thing to do anyway. There might be a possibility of it affecting the credibility, but say like in terms of like working or whatever. But let's say if anyone who wants to work with me, like prospective clients or whoever that wouldn't want to work with me because of this, then they might not actually be the people that I want to work with anyway to begin with.
Are you concerned?
In a way, because I work in the industry where like credibility is quite of important. So I don't know how well other people perceive it, especially like people who might be in the older generations. Like people of our generations are quite okay with it. Like, we grow up with this kind of thing and things like this, like mental health issue has become more accepted. But for people who are probably of the older generation, I wasn't quite sure how their views are like, all the stigma about having a mental health issues, like that is something that kind of like bother me a little bit. But, psychiatrists say so. And like, there might be a possibility of that. But for my personal growth, she still suggests me doing it. And to be able to do that, maybe I would, like the sentence that she used that actually, okay, I'll do that, is that she said that if I do this, like upload this and made it public, I might be able to break a new wall.
Right.
And find, like, to, evolve into another self of mine. And I was like, oh my God, I love that sentence so much. Like, the sentence of, like, breaking that wall. Like, if I make this public, like, the personal side of me, the vulnerable side of me public, it means that I'm accepting it to the next level, embracing it to the next level, and I might be able to break the wall to go forward. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And that's a personal level. But also, I think if you talk about this openly, you could be like normalizing this thing. Like make it more normal to talk about.
Yeah.
So that serves another purpose at another level as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, like, the thing that I just found out after I released the video is that, like, lots of people are afraid of clicking the video because of the title saying depression. And I didn't know it until I see some feedback that, like, at first I was so scared of clicking to see it because, like, they thought that they're going to see someone breaking down.
I see.
And stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that didn't really cross my mind before because maybe because the way that I do the video, like I didn't come out in such way that I'm like having a breakdown moment, crying in front of camera or anything. I decided to do it in the way of a self-reflection and try to approach it as in like the lesson that I've learned from having these conditions. So yeah.
Because knowing you, I don't think you would be that way at all. Like you wouldn't be breaking down in front of the camera for people to see.
I don't take this condition in the emotional way.
Right.
So I see it as a health issue and how I handle the health issue and tackle it in a normal way that people would normally tackle the health issue.
Yeah, it's like talking about you having a toothache and going to a dentist.
Yeah. And then like the journey of how I recover or how I treated myself, how I changed my lifestyle to tackle my toothache.
Right. But it's not a toothache.
No.
It's a adjustment disorder.
It is.
Right? This is the word you use on the video. And also you've mentioned the stress response syndrome and also clinical depression, which is the word we are getting more and more used to nowadays in the society. Clinical depression, ซึมเศร้า. Okay, so let's talk about those three words.
Right.
Okay, so let's start with the adjustment disorder.
Right.
It sounds confusing, I think, for most people. Like, what? Do you have disorder based on having to adjust into... So what does it mean?
Like, I mean, I might not be the best person to describe it because it might need someone who's actually knowledgeable in medicine to describe
From
it.
your experience.
From my experience and from what I understood from the doctor, So adjustment disorder is that like, I mean, and from what I read as well, at first, I mean, when the doctor told me I had it, I didn't have time to actually ask him, like, what exactly is it? Like, he
Right.
kind of did explain it to me, but I did some reading further. And it's like, basically, it's like a stress syndrome where like usually, the reason that he used adjustment is it because it usually happens with someone who faced some certain situation that has a big change in life. It was that like if any big change happened to you, if you lose your job, if you lose someone, if any big change ever happened to you, and there is like a spike level of stress that you need to live with, it can cause this disorder. Oddly, I didn't have that big spike. I
Right.
couldn't really.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I didn't. I couldn't really recall any big spike of change in my life. It could be work, but from what doctor told me, it's to do with the chemistry, like in the brain.
Oh, okay. So it's not only mental, but physical.
It's actually physical.
It's biological.
It's biological. Like
Right.
everything, like, I mean, the mental health essentially is to do with your biology. Like it's all biological. Like sometimes people had a misunderstanding, like misconception of it as like, it's to do with how strong you are mentally and
Right,
how
right.
your attitude is like. No. Like sometimes it's not like that. So what doctor explained to me is that like, so say in your brain there is a chemistry, right? Is it a
Right.
chemistry? Do I
Like
use it right?
chemical.
Yeah,
thing? I don't know.
chemical substance.
Substance.
Like a chemical substance
Right.
in your brain. So normally, the normal people, when you like when you have a stress, people always have stress in daily life. You could have like a high level of stress, low level of stress. People always have stress with anything. But then your body would release that chemical substance that would balance it, that make you like happier to counteract with that level of stress. But
Like
then,
your body has a natural way to
deal with it.
To deal with it,
Yeah,
right.
usually. That's how the normal people body work. But then like for me, so what caused this condition is that like, and lots of people who had like mental issue is that like your brain just, when you're exhausting and you're using your like energy tank, it's getting lower and lower. So you have the same level of stress, but your body produces less of that chemical substance
I see.
to counteract with it. Eventually, when your body is just like fully exhausted, you can't produce that substance anymore to counteract with your stress.
You're too
side.
tired, basically.
Yeah, you're too
right?
tired. Like your body is too tired to produce any substance to counteract with it.
Right.
So that is the moment when you get the mental health issue. And that's when it starts to, have some doing with your emotions. So at that point, when your body is like exhausted of that substance, then the stress level is like exceeding, nothing counteract with it. So that's when you're, having the health issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's actually, it's not about like, oh, you're so weak to deal with problems in life. Sometimes you can't control it because it's the chemical in your
It's
brain.
inside. You can't see, and you
Yeah.
have no control over it.
Yeah, because it's like,
Basically.
it's the chemical basically in the brain.
Yeah. And it's a good thing that people have better understanding with these topics more and more these days. They understand that this is not like, as you said, you're weak, so you can't cope.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as that.
No.
Sometimes you need doctor. Sometimes you need medication, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And another word that you have mentioned on your YouTube video, which I think is very interesting, is that you found out that you came to have this mental health issue because you're over passionate,
I am.
basically. Like you're too passionate
Yeah.
about your work, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's a real thing, huh? Over passionate.
So when I was diagnosed, basically the whole condition of mine came because of the reason of being burnout. That's the first thing that the doctor pinpoint for me.
Right.
That basically the cause of the burnout is overly worked.
I see.
So that's where it came from. So
But when people work too much, it could be from their order to do so.
Yeah,
Like they're forced to work that hard. Or it could be that you force yourself to
Yeah.
work that hard, but you cannot tell that you're forcing yourself
Yeah.
to do a certain thing because you enjoy it too much, right?
Yeah. What happened to me is that when I first started the business, working on the business and then YouTube at the same time and all that stuff, like I do enjoy it. I mean, I had my own philosophy that I wouldn't work in anything that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I was so passionate about it. I was so driven to make it happen. And every little achievement, I was like, I was so addicted to excellency.
And although it's supposed to be a good thing, that's what we're told all the time.
It was supposed to be a good thing, and I was like, I need to keep making it good. I need to keep driving. Like, basically,
Still sounds like a great thing.
I know.
Yeah.
Until the point that you realize that you work 24/7 and you don't have any time for yourself. There was a point in time when I started the business and then I just work pretty much 24/7. Like you got into the office first and leave the last. Everyone at the office were joking about getting me a bed in the office and they actually did. They actually did. They got
Really?
Yeah, they
Wow.
did. It's just to be clear, I never slept at the office.
Okay.
But I was close to. I mean, but never.
Okay.
But they bought that sofa bed and left it in the office just
And I
in
bet
case.
you felt a great pride to be that way, right?
Yeah, and I was like, I fall into that trap that I felt a pride in that. Like I pride myself for working so hard, and I
Right.
feel like it was a cool thing that you're so dedicated about something,
Right.
so passionate about something. It was. I saw that as a great achievement, but then so that I did not realize that I lose my work-life balance.
Right.
I didn't see that. And Stephen was like, like in the normal working life, people do have weekend off. And I start to realize like, oh yeah, maybe I should have weekend off. So I start having weekend off and then I started having YouTube and I thought that could be my hobby.
Escape,
Yeah, escape.
so to speak.
Yeah. And then after a while, I find myself working during daytime, Monday to Friday. I've been working on Go Uni thing, and then after 6 on the weekday, I would be working on YouTube and weekend.
Right.
And I later on find myself working 24/7 again.
How could you not be burnt out?
I know. And I did not know that. That's the thing. Like sometimes people were like, oh, but you're YouTuber or it's your own business. You can call it off at any point. But when you were so into it, you weren't really knowing that that's what you're doing. I just completely lost in work-life balance. Like work-life balance is such a word that people always use.
Right.
And I thought I've had it because, I was still living my life. I still go on a trip. I still do the vlog.
I can turn it off anytime I
Yeah,
want.
I still have some time to sit down and chat shit with my fiance at the time, now husband. It seems almost like I always have work-life balance, but actually everything is kind of like work. But
It's all blurred, right?
Yeah.
Blurred together, and
Like-
you can't tell them apart anymore.
Yeah, and that's why I was probably using the word like a passionate trap.
Right.
Because when you are so passionate about something, the line is so blur. Whether or not it's something that your hobby or something that you do for fun and work. So that's where I fell into the trap and just lost work-life balance and end up in burnout. And I did not realize that until I sit down and talk to the doctor.
Right.
Like that's how bad it is.
Because you always have fun and you're enjoying doing what
Yeah,
you love.
exactly.
So that's why we call it trap.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
You feel like you didn't force yourself to do it, but at the same time, it's kind of forced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when passion has turned into obsession, and that's not a good thing.
No, yeah,
No.
that's when you cross the line.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson to all of us.
Yeah, I think and after I released the video, I'm so glad that I did because lots of people find reflection in themselves as well. That by knowing that there is also someone out there that facing this,
Right.
it's also the reflection to themselves. Lots of people just turn hobbies into work, and eventually you just lost the free space, the space that you don't have to really care about what's the word because when you work, you expect the productivity out of it. You expect like the successful achievement at the end of it. That's the nature of work. You want to see the things that you work on achieving the goal. But when you're working on hobby, like if you go to do sports and stuff, you don't set yourself anything. You just do it for fun.
Yeah.
That's hobby. That's something, you
don't have to set goal or...
Yeah, you can suck at it, like, but you still enjoy it. Like,
exactly.
But when those two things combined and blurred, you lost that kind of free space of yours.
Right.
And I think that lots of people are falling into that path now.
So going through all of those now has the definition of work or passion for you changed in any way?
Looking back, I felt like my work mainly was driven by passion, and I don't think it's a good thing. I think there should be a mix of, obviously you shouldn't work in something you hate. That's not what I meant.
That should be a given, I think.
like you shouldn't work in something that you hate, but you should have some enjoyment in it to a certain level, enough for you to be interested in your work. But I don't want to lead it by passion anymore. I want to leave the space for something that I'm truly passionate for and just leave it out of the KPI.
It sounds so counterintuitive when we say that you should not lead with passion because it sounds wrong.
I know.
But there's a different side of it.
The line of like, find a job that you love and you don't need to work for a day. And I've always driven by that line, and I tend to agree throughout my working life. I tend to disagree with it now because I feel like, you should like your job, but you shouldn't make the thing that you love a job, because eventually you'll burn out, you'll run out of your passion, and you can kind of like, you can easily hate it eventually. And I think that's kind of sad. And you need to go on a journey to find your new passion again because you lost a passion in that. If you're not careful enough, you can go into that direction so easily, especially in this day where everyone is so competitive and everyone is like growing up in the environment that everyone is so successful. And we're like, like these days, people see other people being so successful and they are driven to be super successful very quickly. We are growing up in a situation where we're told that if you're not successful, then you're a piece of shit.
Right.
Like it's that kind of environment that we grow up in. Don't you think? Like in the newer generation, we grow up in kind of that environment without knowing. So I feel like you can go into that path very easily. We grow in a situation where everyone was like, find your passion and go for it. And you've got to be successful at the same time. And you still have to like find yourself. And it's just, you just dig your own hole and you just fall into it yourself.
Yeah, voluntarily too.
Yeah. And I find like I learned it hard way. And I think having passion is good, or having a fraction of passion in your work is always good, but don't drive it solely.
Don't let it be everything.
Yeah. Like my doctor told me as well that there are like the case of three people who work purely for passion, and the people who work purely for money, and the people who work with a mix of both. And, the people who work solely for money will probably be seeing that like, oh, you're being selfish. You're like money driven. But it makes sense. I mean, like, who are we to judge? Like, some people might value money and that's fine. And people work purely for passion. Well, that's great. You're so passionate about the thing that you like, and you're working on it, and you don't care anything at all about money. And that was me in the past 3-4 years. I literally did not care much about money, but it was all about like the meaning of what I do and the passion and what I enjoy, and that was me. And the third person is a mix of both. And it turns out that these three people, at the end of the day, the first two just stop. Eventually they quit their job. Because, if you are driven by money, eventually you get bored, you don't get anything out of it other than money. Yeah. So, and it's empty. And so they quit and they go on to the next job, starting again. The one who works solely with the passion, eventually the passion runs out because you're so tired. And so eventually it's just like you don't find enjoyment in it anymore, and you beat yourself up even harder because it's meant to be something you love.
Right.
And it get back to you. Turned out that the person who had the mix of both is the one who could like stay in the work the longest and have the highest learning curve and tend to be able to develop to the next level because they have a balance well between what they are passionate for and knowing that they do it for money and and it's not a bad thing to do things for money. So to have a balance of both is actually the most productive way.
Yeah, the key.
Yeah.
To how to balance every part of what you think is important.
Yeah.
Because of course passion is important.
Yeah.
And money is also important. How do you get both without, burning yourself out?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So how do you balance your life now that you've been through everything and you've seek some counseling and you have medication and everything. So what's the meaning of balance in your life right now?
Well, disclaimer.
Disclaimer again.
I'm still in the process of improving. I wouldn't say that I'm in like a full balance right now.
You're not done yet.
No, I'm still in progress. Peachy is loading. That's why I said Peachy is loading.
Yeah.
I would say like make some time. To write a planner helps a lot. To have a regular reflection on how your day and your week goes helps a lot. To monitor carefully if how much you spend your time on things helps a lot. And to list out to really have time with yourself really helps a lot because you would see actually how much time you've spent on certain things. It's most of the time people would find it surprising because if you list down the important things in your life, like usually, like the first thing on the list would probably be work at the moment because we're like in the career phase of life. So it's like work and then family and friends and other things. But then when you list it out, and then compare it with the actual time that you spend on things in your, say, a week, you would find it really contrast because like you would probably spend majority of time in work and you leave like a very minimal amount of percentage for other things. Right. So the first thing on the list is actually taking so much portion in comparison to the second thing and to restore the balance is to plan it out and block the time for other things.
Right.
And to have yourself strictly follow that plan helps to try to readjust back to the balance, to make time for hobbies or things to do. Say like the second thing on my list is my family, and I find out that I come back to Thailand often enough to work but not to spend time with them, for example. So say this trip, when I come back, I need to block out the time that I'm going to spend with my family. If I don't block it out, then as soon as I come here, I can't really before how I work is that like I block the time to come back for work, and then if there is any time left, then I'll go to have a relaxing time with family and end up not having any. And it's been like that for a couple of years, which is kind of sad looking at it. So 2020 forward. And then I block all the time and then I go spend time with my family. There might be some work involving still, but it's still a good progress, like to be able to block out time and to monitor your time and to block out some and to manage those percentage in your life. I think that helps because like sometimes you can't go by feelings because your feelings is not straight.
Yeah, exactly. We cannot trust ourselves to do the right thing.
Yeah, you can't trust it just yet. You can't really trust yourself in just doing the job. You need some tool. You need some system in help. And I think monitoring time, reflecting back and planning ahead helps a lot. So now I'm going to be like, put the holiday in first and having the work schedule around it.
Right.
To go forward.
That's like change your priority.
Yeah.
Like, do it consciously. Don't just intend to do it, but you have to schedule it, right?
Yeah.
It works the same way with trying to save money. You have to save first and then you spend the rest. Not trying to, spend less and then see if you have anything left at the end of the month and then call that a saving. You have to set aside the saving first. And also it's the same thing when you mentioned that you cannot trust yourself to do the right thing before. I just think of this podcast that I heard. One of the best way to make sure that you eat right is to keep all the bad food out of your house. because you can't trust yourself. If you open the fridge and you can still see all, the fattening and the sweets, of course you're gonna eat it. But if you try to keep everything away, so that's forcing yourself to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy because people can be off balance at all time, but to also be mindful of where you're at is really important to keep balance as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Another issue that you've mentioned on your YouTube video is the identity crisis, which is, again, could be confusing for a lot of people because what does it mean? It means you don't know yourself or you're confused about what you have to do or you have several roles or hats. And is that what it's about?
For me, because during you're having this kind of like a weaker mental health, it kind of raised a lot of doubts in you. That's one of the things that would happen during this time. Because I was talking about the energy tank before, that chemical substance in your brain. So when it's slowing down, I see it as a lantern. And then so when the fuel is going down, the flame is getting slimmer and slimmer.
Right.
And then that's when the core is easy to touch. That's when you're kind of weak, unstable, and you have doubt, and anything very little can really touch to your core really easily. So you start to get lots of doubts in yourself. You start to get you start to second guess yourself of what you're doing. And let's say me, I woke up and I wasn't sure anymore, if I'm actually contributing something, if what I'm doing is actually meaningful or driving anything forward. It's a mix of everything you were mentioning before. So it's because I was wearing so many hats as well. I was working in the YouTube world and some of them are not having anything to do with my business at all. And sometimes I'm working on the business and I'm having the YouTube team behind. Was I doing too much of each side? And where am I standing in all this? Am I contributing anything to anyone at all? And I think worst of all, in terms of identity crisis, for me is that how people see me and how I see myself are not going in line. And I think that brings the biggest issue to me because say lots of people would idolize me and I'm very grateful for it. But at the same time, people are looking up to me. Lots of people were saying how to be successful like you, how to be strong and hardworking and know where your passion lies and so and so and so. People basically are idolizing you and looking up to you. At the same time, you're doubting yourself so much, right? You're having this condition and because of, let's us not forget that it's all about a chemical in your brain as well. So you don't really think straight and you doubt yourself.
Actually, we've had this episode about the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And you text me right away, as soon as the episode has been launched.
Yeah.
That, oh my God, this is so me.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going through.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Is it like that also?
It is. It's exactly is that. So you're starting to feel am I an imposter? Am I fake?
Am I really that good?
Yeah, am I really that good? People see me as being that good, but I feel like, but I'm having this. Can someone that people look up to having this much doubt of themselves? I'm going through this phase where I have so much low self-esteem and I start to doubt what I'm doing. Is this person deserve people to look up to? And that, in a way, to me, is identity crisis because I don't know anymore who I am. Am I lying to everyone? It goes to that extent that I feel am I actually being dishonest to those people who look up to me? And I mean, because I'm being sink into that cloud of my thought in all that madness. Then I listened to some podcast. I honestly can't remember which one, but it was talking about the psychiatrist still have to see the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
The therapist still need to see the therapist. And
Right.
who the hell am I? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just one person right here facing issues in life and I'm not an expert in this anyway. So, and I was like, okay. So the people who have, like, whose main job is to counsel people to be better for their mental health still need to seek help for mental health. And who the hell am I? Like, of course I can have mental health and still be that person that people look up to. Yeah, so it comes to the conclusion that, I shouldn't have been too harsh for myself.
The worst and the hardest battle, it happens within, right?
Yeah.
It's internal.
Yeah.
One of the main takeaway from all this that we have been talking about today is the mindset that actually see that what you're going through, whatever it is, all the problems are fixable. It could be fixed.
Yeah.
Some way, somehow, but you just have to take action.
Yeah.
Or, look around at least, find options, talk to people.
Yeah.
You could choose different tools to cope with the problems that you have. But it's not like the end of the world. And it's not happening to you because you're a bad person or because you're unlucky.
True,
it could be fixed.
Yeah. What I found is that it's so easy for people with this kind of conditions, like whether they're diagnosed with the proper depression, the proper like actual syndrome, or just having likeภาวะ. Sometimes it's not an actual syndrome. Sometimes it could just be ภาวะ ซึมเศร้า หรือ ภาวะ บางอย่าง. So
that means it comes and goes.
Yeah, it could be fixed. It comes and go. You could recover it yourself or you just seek help for it. Like, just don't take it too personal. Like, don't be too harsh. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. I feel like because lots of people take it so personal and they judge themselves so hard that, like, you're being weak. You're having this, like, you're not strong enough in this world and there's no place in this world for you because you're, like, people see it as failure sometimes. Right. People find that when they are in these conditions, it's a failure, but it's not. It is not. And don't let this define you. This is not you. This is just a phase that you need to go through because of the burnout, because of whatever situations, but it's not a failure. It is just something that has some cause that you can solve.
ช่วงท้ายของการพูดคุยนะครับเนื่องจากเรามีน้องอินเทิร์นครับ KND Intern Gen 2 นั่งฟังอยู่ด้วยก็เลยเปิดโอกาสให้ทั้งสองคนได้ถามคำถามกับพีชีด้วยคำถามแรกจากน้องป่านและคำถามที่สองจากน้องกัปตันครับ
Okay, my name is Pan. I'm a trainee in community intern. So first question, I have already watched the video that you were talking about depression, and it seemed like you have a problem with social media addiction.
Yes. Yeah.
And
guilty as charged.
Are there any suggestion to the people who have this problem like you?
Thank you for the questions. I felt like in social media, we can expose to other people's story and other people's opinions so easily. And because you see other people's stories so easily, you can't help but compare yourself to them. And like directly, indirectly, consciously, unconsciously, you always compare to them. Even though you don't want to hear about it, even though there are things that, like sometimes, most of the time, there are things that has nothing to do with you at all, but you still take it into account. You still think about it. You can't help but, you see on the feed, you see, oh, people going on holiday. How did it go? That's actually really nice. And then you scroll down and, oh, that place is so nice. I should probably check that out sometimes. And then like, oh shit, I can't find the time for that. And oh shit, I got this shit, loads of work to do. It's got you thinking all the time and you just lost yourself in it. And I think that's the main reason that you can't really find your self-esteem. Like you lower your I think for me, self-esteem come from yourself, your strength, where you're heading to, exactly what you want without really comparing yourself to society. You're content with who you are and you're really secured. And that's how I see where the self-esteem should come from. But with the social media and with the crowd noise, it's so, what's the word, clutter. It's very cluttered. And you're like surrounded by so many thoughts of others that you don't really hear yourself anymore. And eventually, your self-esteem would go down. So that's why I think, especially when you're in the stage of having low self-esteem, whether because of you're tired from work or whether you're suffering from any health issues, social detox helps, like to leave it a little bit. And some practical ways to handle it is just to put your phone away. It's actually hard. But it's doable. At least before bed. Lots of people just like scroll it before bed. You feel like you want to rest, but then you don't want to rest really. Like by resting, it's like you're still absorbing the world, so that's not resting. So you could just put your phone away. Some practical solution is to put your phone away to the different room, like put it outside the bedroom. And it forced you to get up in the morning without scrolling it first thing. Like your alarm would goes on and you need to pick yourself up and go turn it off. And that's like the most practical things to do to get yourself out of bed. Or like, to just turn the phone like down, like upside down really, just face down. And you won't see any notifications and stuff. It helps as well. And put it away out of your sight when you're doing something. Like when you work, when you study, just put it away. Sometimes it can start with something as easy as that. I went to the extent where I deleted the app. But I still have it locked in other device. Like I have a dedicated device for it. It helps as well. So I dedicate some time for it. Or if there's any emergency case I need to be on, then I can still be on. But I just delete it off my phone. That's how I try doing social detox. Oh, having some specific time helps. Like starting with a small amount of time. Don't try to like get rid of it straight away. You'll be like long dang. It's like a rehab. Like you're going on a rehab. Maybe just give yourself like 2 days, 3 days, and then you just extend it to a week. Sometimes we feel like we can't really go away because we need to know where the world's at. But when trying that, like the world doesn't need us all the time. You realize that actually the world doesn't need us and we don't need the world all the time as well. We can still function.
Okay, so my name is Captain. I'm also an intern here. So my question is, I'm a very happy person actually, and I'm also very passionate with what I do. I'm very passion driven. I was like the type 2 person that you mentioned, who also only do things for passion. So even though I haven't accomplished much, I think I'm flying high in my own mind. Like I feel good about myself. And that's quite similar to how you said you used to be before the slump. But I also can picture myself falling into the same pit. Yeah, as they say, the happiest person cries saddest. Are there any precautions or tips to prevent myself from getting into that pit?
Right. That's a very good question, actually. I think to monitor your time would be the thing, like, because it's really hard to be precautions about it because you only know when you're off balance, like, you only actually find that out when it happens already, and there would be some signal to come back to it and stuff like that. I think if you want to prevent that, you need to have a regular self-reflection moment, like to actually see if you delegate your time to other things in life as well, because there are so many other things in life that you can be passionate about. There can be different level of passions that you put in different things as well. So say you're probably passionate about something and you spent your 110% on it at the moment and you're enjoying it and you enjoy seeing it flying and success and everything. Just to have a regular self-monitoring, like reflection, writing diary and stuff can help you seeing whether are you spending too much time on it. Like, because even though you always want to spend time on things you enjoy, but you can enjoy other things as well. And if you roll it out, say in this week, you have spent your every hour on this thing. You haven't seen your friends, you haven't spent enough time with your family, you haven't actually gone to gym at all, or you haven't actually done anything else other than these things, or haven't spent any time off this thing at all, then I think that's a sign that you need to kind of like adjust it a little bit before falling into that trap.
And that was the show for today. It's kind of running pretty long, but some of the listeners have requested that we do a longer show in English, like We Need to Talk podcast that you guys miss so much. So I took the opportunity and I hope you guys like it, okay? So if you want to make any suggestions and if you're listening on YouTube, you can do that in the comment section below. But if you're listening anywhere else, feel free to write a tweet about this episode and share your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you can think of anyone at all who would enjoy this podcast, please share this episode with them. ติดตามคำนี้ดีกันได้ทุกวันแล้วก็ทุกช่องทางเหมือนเดิมนะครับทั้งที่เว็บไซต์ของเรา thestandard.co ที่ YouTube ที่ Joox ที่ Spotify basically everywhere you get your podcast. My name is Vic and you've been listening to WKND. Thank you so much for spending time with me on your weekend. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. สวัสดีครับ
The Standard Podcast. Eye-opening for your ears.